I wish it'd be like this all year.
Okay,
Maybe a little more.
I have to share my video. Okay, so there doesn't appear to be anyone online, which is positive. Makes it less confusing for me. Okay. Come on. Okay, keep it down. All right, so we can open the meeting. It's actually 7 o'clock because that church thing is always early
Yeah,
for some strange reason.
3 minutes.
So. And so I know the first item on the agenda is if there's any changes, and I don't think, and the thing, and I did leave off other business by mistake, so we could add that at the bottom about future meetings. Does anyone else have any changes they'd like to make? And then the next one is any public comments. If you have a public comment, appreciate if you come up here because I just have a computer microphone. So does anyone have any public comments? Oop, there's 2 people in the waiting room. I have to let them in. Donna Wing and Stuart Ross are in. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a statement from me. And after the last meeting and when I had a chance to review the recording, and in addition, when I received an email from Carol Taylor, which you all on the Planning Commission and anyone on the Select Board also received a copy of. When I went through the minutes, every single item had comments or suggestions from either Pete Benjamin or Carol Taylor. And when I was listening through the meeting, it was very much like being at a select board meeting where we're presenting the bylaws and get questioned from the select board. And it has been a situation that I've mentioned before, having 2 members of the select board on the planning commission makes for a very challenging situation when any measures are presented to the select board because they generally recuse themselves. And so it requires a unanimous vote by the 3 remaining members. And now we have contributions from 2 additional select board members during the planning commission, almost as if they're part of the panel, making suggestions along the way. And it begs the question as to whether or not you'll need to recuse yourself in the select board meeting as well. And in addition, it seems to me to be, I would border on saying it's inappropriate, but it also, what it ended up doing is delaying the meeting so that we were not particularly productive. We didn't hear from many members of the planning commission. We mainly heard from select board members, and we heard contributions from Bob Wing, who we generally, they're not, when he makes suggestions, when you make suggestions, Bob, they're often information-based. You point out mistakes or oversights that we have, which is technical and is based, the way I've looked at it is based on your experience as a zoning administrator and is helpful to the process. The statements that are being made by the select board members who are not part of the planning commission are in general opinions, which you're all certainly entitled to, but you're on the select board. And so you get an opportunity to review the bylaws and express your opinions and weigh in on them when they're presented to you. We need to have the time and the space to hash things out amongst ourselves. It's our job, it's our commitment to do that, and we do that pretty well. We have a variety of different opinions here. We have different viewpoints and we talk them through, and we generally come up with pretty good product. And by having two members of the select board here expressing themselves constantly, and it really impedes the progress and the ability for us to have a genuine good discussion and make progress. We're going to have to go back over everything that was presented last time because we kept on having questions put to us from the floor. When I went back through the meeting, I rarely heard other people. There were just sort of brief comments being made by people on the planning commission, which is not normal. We generally have a pretty good discussion back and forth. If Ron's here, we always have a good discussion back and forth. It's inevitable because he's always got some good opinions on a variety of different things. We don't always accept everything, which I'm sure you're well aware of, but we have a good blend. We have a diverse body. And if you don't have faith in us, I'm sorry, but we are trying to do our planning commission duties here. And that's not being helpful. And I would really like you to think about why you keep coming to these meetings. Do you go to any other meetings all the time as select board members?
I do.
I think it impedes the ability of people to do their job. And it also causes a situation on our commission in particular. There's 4 members now here on the select board. And when I spoke to Vermont League of Cities and Towns about my concern with planning commission members attending select board meetings, and I said, every time a planning commission member attends a select board meeting, there's a quorum. What do I do about that? I was advised to not go anymore. And if I didn't feel comfortable with that, then I needed to post warnings. I post warnings now. Every single time I get the thing from Danielle on Tuesday morning with her new Zoom link, because she doesn't do a repeated one. And I post saying that no action, I anticipate no action being taken. I'm very careful about that. But I can't control Ron, and I can't control Monique. They know they're not supposed to, they know the rules. They're not supposed to express opinions on what's going on there that's related to planning commission business. But we're not perfect. And we have to, so I post these because that's the advice of Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. Now, what happened in the last meeting was you were expressing opinions that are part of your job as a select board members. And so it was basically a select board meeting last time. And it was because there were expressions from select board members directing how we should do things. And I received a letter from a select board member directing me not to hold a meeting in a location where we could actually have a good.
That was not sent from a select board person. That was sent from a taxpayer and a concerned citizen. It was never signed as select board.
You did not answer my question when I asked you that.
That's correct. I didn't.
And you sent it to the select board and you sent it to the planning commission members.
But it was not signed as a select board member.
So in any event, I questioned the usefulness of this happening and why there is this need to provide such direction to a commission that's charged with doing that. Ted?
Well, 2 things. Number 1, my understanding is that you need to warn a special meeting if a quorum is likely to be present and you are likely to be discussing business that is the concern of that board or commission or select board or whatever. If a quorum of the select board attends a church service, if a quorum attends a school play at Oxbow.
Correct.
There's absolutely nothing inappropriate with that because no business was conducted. If planning commission members come to a select board meeting, there's a quorum sitting in the room, and all they do is answer questions related to an item on the agenda that relates to planning commission. There's absolutely nothing inappropriate with that. That's my understanding. I understand you got some different guidance from VLCT.
Mine says no planning commission action will be taken, but we still, because of as you do with conflict of interest, the appearance of a meeting is the same as having a meeting. And this is an appearance of a meeting because there is clearly contribution of opinions that will be reiterated when the bylaws are presented to the select board.
I was not finished.
I'm sorry, I
So
stopped.
the other thing I wanted to say is I have never, all the time I've been involved with any civic activity here in Bradford, I've never heard anyone discourage any person, select board member or anyone else from attending a public meeting. And I understand your point that when a select board member asks a question, it may feel like it has more weight than it does from any other member of the public, but I can assure you, we're all just regular people. And when we're not at a select board meeting, we are all just regular citizens. And I don't understand how we can seriously be discouraging people from attending a meeting that interests them and the subject concerns them. That I don't get that at all.
They did not ask questions, they made statements.
Okay.
And so if I understand you're comfortable with this, I think it's odd, and I think it inhibits, and it did in the last meeting, it greatly inhibited our body having a discussion because the two of you were having the bulk of the discussion, and I was having to answer your concerns. So that took up the bulk of the meeting. And I find it puzzling, to say the least. And I would suggest that instead of coming to these meetings, you have us come to your select board meeting and ask those questions if you have those types of questions, because that is where I assume you're asking them, not, if you're asking them as individuals, why have you, that seems sort of interesting because you never came before. And it was the way it was presented to me was that by Ted is that you were trying to understand how things worked. And that's fine. I get that. That's totally reasonable. That's why a lot of people go to select board meetings. But they might ask a question out of curiosity, but they don't. If you can imagine a select board meeting where everyone in the audience starts voicing opinions on everything that's going on.
It has happened numerous times, and I've always made sure that we somehow got through our full agenda.
Okay. Well, that is my opinion, and I find that the the lack of support for this commission is noted based on our requests for various things being denied, and then the constant presence of commission members, of select board members, generally with questions that are not supportive, which is the tone of what occurred in the last meeting is noted. And it's not helpful to the ongoing effort, successful or not, of the commission to operate. We have a diverse committee. We don't all agree. We work things out, but we generally do not agree. That's why I think this is a good commission. It's balanced. You've got somebody who's been here forever in Dan, and he's got a lot of history of things. You've got Ron, who has a very different developer's perspective, and that's what the planning commission does. You've got Ted, who has a lot of select board understanding, and he has state understanding of how things operate. And you have me, who I have lived there for a fairly long time, and I've done a diverse amount of things, from real estate to developing myself to living here as a homeowner. So I've had experience with trying to get, understanding the zoning for my own personal needs, which not everyone does. So I think you've got a pretty diverse group here. And I really wish, as Dan once said, and he probably regrets it, that you let us do our job and support us. You don't have to agree with us, but support us. And by supporting us, you don't, it's like having your parents come here every single meeting. It is, because regardless of what Ted says, what you say, you aren't just Carol Taylor. You told me not to go to Space on Main.
That's not what I told you. I said I was opposed to it. I didn't tell you you couldn't go. Please get it correct.
Yes, and that was taken as if I went there, I was going to cause Monique trouble, and I don't want to do that. And you accused me of things that were just not fair and reasonable. And
I don't think my comments are any different than some we've received. So can we please move on?
I don't want to move on. I want to understand. I guess I'm going to continue to operate the way I did, but I will not operate the meeting the way I did last time. And you can't just talk all the time about things. It's just not going to work. And if I believe that we can't conduct a proper meeting in this room, which it is acoustically a nightmare, then I should be able to make that decision on my own. I don't get any special benefits, believe me. I was going to pay for that room, as I pay for many things related to my volunteer activities, but I was doing it so that we could have a decent meeting and people that are on Zoom could hear us. And you could all see what we were presenting. And that's not provided by the town. And I found another way to do it. And instead of, and apparently I was going to create hard feelings, whatever those are. The town's creating hard feelings with me because they're making me have a meeting in here where I'm echoing. And when you guys were talking about Midnight Madness, it was so loud I couldn't concentrate, and you weren't talking loudly. It just echoes. And I'm trying to work through and try to do conduct a decent meeting.
What it was,
Hi, Monique. Bob, would you come up here? It doesn't pick up well. It echoes too much. Wait, it echoes too much when you're talking loudly. That's the problem. And up here, and I'm sorry.
What I feel extremely that we have degenerated down to the point where we are telling you can't be here, you can't be here. This is a public meeting open to the public.
Yes.
When we eliminate certain people, then it's no longer open to the public. If you and I have argued, we have disagreed, I have thrown hand grenades from the back of the room, yes.
No, it's because it echoes and I won't be able to.
Well, if you're unhappy with this room, do away with Zoom, go back to doing it like everybody else. But that's another whole subject. But we can't come in here and alienate you. This we cannot do. We are a small town and we need everybody. You may not like what they say. I know you don't like what I say sometimes, but I say it anyhow, and we kind of move on. And we have to listen. And it isn't personal, it's just, they have a thought, I have a thought, he has a thought, he has a, sure, he has a thought. And it really is not behooving us to tell people, I do not want you at the meeting, nor do you. That we cannot do. It's no different than if you come to a select board meeting and they say, I don't want you, or you.
We just have to warn us.
Will you shut your pie hole for a minute?
Quiet, quiet, no, Bob, no. Shh. No,
No, I'm just.
I can't mute you. But I would.
Maybe not reflecting, but it's just, we can't do this. We can't fight amongst us. We're too small. And we're doing the same people do many things. We just can't do it. We have to learn to get along, and we can't call names, and we can't be unhappy because somebody said it. I'm gonna go sit in the back room now. I'm going back to us.
Monique, and then
I think it's Marcy. Is this about the, like?
yes, I said a quorum and about the fact
I've
that
had my hand up for quite a while. Can I be recognized?
I'm going to recognize people on the commission first, and then I'll go to the audience.
It's super quick. I was just, to Bob saying that, Marcy and I like going to select board. I'm total, like, it should be, right? If that it's warned as a planning commission meeting, if we're going and talking at a select board meeting, because then we have a quorum as planning commission. So that's what VLCT instructed that needs to happen if we're going to talk about anything related to planning commission at all. So just like last week we started talking about select board policies and we had a quorum in the select board here. That's not, we can't do that unless the select board warns a meeting that they're gonna have a majority or quorum of members at this meeting.
No. Okay. So, Colin, if you would come up.
I'm new on this, I'm just kind of observing, but I would guess part of the issue is that people who are on the select board are not the same as regular citizens because they have power over this board. They have power over who's on it, they have power over the decisions that get approved or not approved. So I would think that their comments just do come with a different weight because they have that kind of responsibility. And I'm sympathetic to that view, but like I said, I'm new, so if I'm wrong.
Peep.
I guess I'm gonna have to go back and review the meeting too, but I do not once remember you asking me to hold off on that or offering to wait and discuss that with me at another time outside the meeting. I am new. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm trying to understand what you are doing. I have not been involved in town politics. I am now retired. I have the time and I want to. I'm concerned what's happening to my town. This is my town. I have lived here forever and it's my town. And I want to know what's going on. I want to be involved with what's going on and I want to have an active say. Now, if I intruded on your meeting by asking too many questions, I guess it's because the material didn't speak for itself, because I carefully read it and tried to digest the information before I came to you. So, but again, let me say this again. Never once do I remember you saying to me, can we discuss this at another time? Let's end this discussion now. Let's move the question. I don't remember that. If you can't control the meeting, that's certainly not my fault. If you didn't want me to ask questions, you could have said so. And if you felt you weren't running the meeting the way you wanted to, then change it.
I'm changing it right now.
So then how can you tell a private citizen that they cannot come to a meeting?
I'm not telling you not to come to the meeting. I'm not telling Carol not to come to the meeting. I would hope you could listen to somebody who's not part of this. As I have been saying this over and over again, when you say something, it carries more weight than if Colin says something. If Carol says something, it carries more weight than if, I don't know, if Gerard Keating says something. It carries more weight. You have control over anything that we do here. We have to run everything by you. We do. We have to run all the bylaws by you. So when you say something, it carries more weight. I'm not saying don't come to meetings. I'm not saying ask questions, but rather than asking them in a meeting, perhaps if you want to learn about zoning and why things are a certain way and why we're going a certain route, set up a meeting with me one-on-one. I'm happy to go over it with you. I'm happy to provide you with things to read about it so you would be more understanding of why we're doing different things like reducing lot sizes or whatever it is that we're working on doing. But when you make comments, it carries more weight because of your position. That is just a fact of life. And so by being here, you are also, because you're expressing opinions, and I can send the minutes from the past meeting to VLCT and ask them if they felt that it should have been warned. I think it should have been warned. If you want to have a select board meeting parallel with the planning commission meeting, warn it so that people know that you're having, that you can't vote, but that doesn't mean you're not having a meeting discussing things. And that's what is happening here. You know,
As long as the meeting is open to the public and I'm available, I'm going to be here. Thank you for your time.
any other comments?
Question, just some clarification from my own perspective. You're of the concern that is formed because those two, as well as
One
And
more,
Ted.
one more, it's a quorum.
are in the room, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear about that. What was your name? Colin. Colin's point is relevant, and your point about, yes, select board members having opinions does carry more weight in general. It does. However, does that mean they can't? They shouldn't be coming here and speaking? I have a hard time.
I-
Kind of depends where it's coming from.
I think
Are they
it would
coming here to
make-
try to bully us and push us around. I don't feel that way, or, you know, but in the long run, they could, like you said, they can control the meeting. I mean, they can control the decisions in the end. Perhaps they're here with the idea, they're trying to, like you saying, get a better understanding of what is going on. Maybe it's more of a streamlined process, so when they're in their select board meetings, that if they're gonna vote on something, want to change something, they got a better understanding of it that way. Because it being a quorum, unless they're here to vote on something somehow, I don't see how that constitutes a quorum issue potentially. Although, I mean, as he's learning, I'm still learning all the innuendos and the etiquette of all the legal side of these things. And so, I mean, you well know, I've stepped on it many times and I have been corrected.
I think it's this situation where when people make comments, we try to work things and pull things together. And then we vote. And then when it goes to the select board, these two guys have to recuse themselves. Those two select board members who seem to be participating in the melding of the ideas either don't recuse themselves, and then there's the ability, if everyone votes the same way, or they do recuse themselves and nothing can happen. And so they're involved in creation of the document by participating. And then
I mean, here.
here, because there's participation and there's,
I mean, still, they're arguably, they're participating as taxpayers.
but that's like saying the, you know, the president of the United States comes in and says yada, 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 but he can't vote on it. He's not going to pass it through Congress and just, so on your way.
No.
It's a very, so that is the situation. And in general, what I have always tried to do in a meeting is to let everyone talk. Because I think there should be transparency and let everyone express their views, but it becomes, for me, a select board meeting that I'm in while we're trying to prepare a document. And
Well, I think
And
it's a
that's-
fine line, hey, this is almost like a conflict of interest issue, you know, and it's very fine line. Where them being taxpayers and wanting to express their opinion or whatever on a document. Versus are they sitting here trying to influence the public and or us via this body as a select board member, trying to thread that needle, it's pretty difficult. I think a lot of it you have to just take in the people benefit of the doubt. To an extent, let's just start seeing something that's totally disingenuous and it's like.
well, then I would
it's a
say
fine
that
line.
that the two select board members, if select board members are going to come to the meeting and they're going to vote, then you two should be voting in the select board meeting on any planning commission meetings. Because otherwise,
I'm sorry, there's a huge difference. Dan and I are voting members of the planning commission.
I would like you to recuse yourselves on voting for in the planning commission, then so you can vote in the select board meeting on these matters, because
Maybe we should both step down.
I'm not saying that, but it's just, I think some true reflection on what is the dynamics of this process is, and the actual additional weight that comes from select board members should be, I think you all should reflect on that. I think it's a real issue. And what has happened what was the most disappointing thing that happened, one of the most disappointing things is these two men didn't vote. And I has to have volunteer committees. No cost to the town, nothing. And it was voted down. No reason given, just voted down. If these two men had presumably had been able to vote, then it would have passed, but they can't vote because they respect the separation. And so something that seems hard to understand, I can't find a rational reason for it, was turned down. And that appears to be the future for any ideas that come from this commission. And that's disturbing and disappointing, and to me seems pointless. And then beyond that, this process becomes claustrophobic, that I have to receive emails saying from someone that they don't like what I'm doing, and then I have to, then I'm in a, I felt I had no choice, but I had to have this meeting here, and I don't feel that that's okay. And I think if someone else that didn't carry any weight had said that to me, I would have contacted them and tried to understand it and explain myself, but I didn't feel I had that option. And I still don't understand what possible hard feelings could be felt by anyone from finding a better location for a meeting that's open to anyone.
Marcy, are you saying you really didn't feel comfortable calling Carol and asking her?
No, absolutely not. It was sent to all the select board and the and the planning commission members. It was an,
All I can tell you is I get plenty of flack from plenty of people, and I certainly don't feel like I have any more influence than anybody else because
You
people
do.
have no hesitation to tell me when they think I've made a mistake. And apparently I have made plenty recently.
but you can say no. They thought you made a mistake about the garbage cans, correct? And you said no, you put one back, period.
Yeah. So
Okay, you have the final say. You can take all sorts of flack and just say, no, you're the boss. You
And
guys
and
are-
as chair of this commission, you could have spoken with Carol and gotten a more thorough discussion, got a better explanation of what her reasoning was. And Carol, as she said, she never said, don't do it. Carol said, this causes me some concern. I have these concerns. That's very different from saying, don't do it. Anyway.
I didn't want to put another person in the middle of a problem. I hope you can appreciate that. If it was just me, and I'd said I was having it at my house, you wouldn't want that, but if I'd said that, that would be different. But it wasn't just affecting me. That's the point. And I'm not going to make somebody else have trouble just because I want to continue on with what I was doing. I just, and I did ask for clarification. I never received it. I said, are you speaking for the select board or as an individual? And what are the hard feelings and who has them? I heard nothing. I did reach back. So there you go. I'm sorry that it's not being well received. And I hope you think about it. Okay, and moving on. The only correspondence that the planning commission got was Carol's email, which everyone has received. Bike ped grant. I reached out to Two Rivers because based on last meeting's conversation about whether or not we should resubmit the bike ped grant. Ted suggested that we look at the old sidewalk study, and I reached out to Two Rivers, got a copy of the old study. I uploaded it to the packet so you all can see it. And then I talked to her about whether I looked at it and I said, oh, I think I can do that now that I know how you do it. And she said, sure, you could, we could do it ourselves and then we could just run it by them. And Phil happened to call me today because he's replacing a culvert on my road and my road's blocked. So I asked him if it would be, if he'd be willing, assuming that you all thought it was okay. And whoever determines whether Phil can do it. If I worked with him to go around the sidewalks again, or maybe I'll find somebody like Colin to help me. Or somebody else or whoever, to go around and duplicate that study so we could update it. It was done in 2015 and some things have changed. Some sidewalks, like he mentioned, the one in front of the library is in really bad shape.
Next, a question about the sidewalk.
Yep.
So I heard looking through scans with it, and at the end there, so did I read that correctly? Said the projected cost would be 4.6 million. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very expensive.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, so that is grant money that we would be receiving. We got to put in a certain amount.
No, that's just, here's what it would cost to renovate all the sidewalks. There wasn't any talk about where the money would come from. It just, if we wanted to renovate all the sidewalks that need work, that's what it would cost.
And the reason to look at that in particular this year is that there's all this money coming in. So not just ARPA money, but there's all sorts of transportation money. And there is a bike ped grant that's due in the spring of 2022. So we would have plenty of time to go and do that update on the sidewalk study and then see if we wanted to apply for that type of grant. And also see if there's funds, because one of the ways you can leverage ARPA money is to use it as, you're allowed to use it as the town contribution to a grant. So like if you have a 10% match or 20% match on a $4 million project, 20% of that's 800,000. That's how much ARPA is. You don't want to use all your ARPA money up on sidewalks, but it's a way to come up with not having the taxpayers have to come up with the money.
Which is, sounds very interesting. That,
And
on the
it-
surface, I guess the main question came to mind, at first, I was kind of put that. Unless that's the only option we've got, the cart before the horse, and that. Wouldn't it be nicer to have, if we could get grant money elsewhere, that big number to put, to create something that creates more housing and recreational type facility for the town, something like.
Oh, yes. So I'm not
Does
at
that
all
help?
advocating using ARPA money for this at all, but I'm just saying you can use something like ARPA as the contribution so that you're 4 million. I'm not talking about renovating all the sidewalks in town, but it's a way to leverage getting the grant money without putting a burden on taxpayers. And I think you put aside a fair amount for sidewalk improvement anyway as a regular contribution. But anyway, if we update this, if you all think it's good to update the sidewalk study without, it's not going to cost anything. We can then have a better strategy on what type of sidewalk improvement plan we should focus on to run by.
My opinion, hopefully we take a look at something else that we could use for that.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. So, can the planning commission make that decision? I think we can, to update the study at no cost.
I can't see any reason why not.
So you have to come here because it echoes. And if you didn't listen to the recording, you don't know.
Going to include North Pleasant Street.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes. The whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, we should look at everything. So does anyone want to make a motion on whether or not to have the planning commission update the sidewalk study? And all those in favor? Okay. And then the next thing that I didn't get too much progress on the neighborhood designation, but I did run it by Two Rivers. And I asked them what they thought about it. And they said they would help us if on some level, but they weren't willing to devote a significant amount of effort. They would oversee it because the application they thought it was a fairly heavy lift. I don't think it's that heavy a lift, but it may require some bylaw changes that we may or may not want to do. And then that would decide whether or not we could go forward with it. And I also asked them, which isn't on the agenda exactly, but I did ask them about the housing study that's been done. And they did collect some data. So I'm still working on gathering that with Kevin to see how to present that. Because I think there's I think we can extract some information just specific to Bradford from that study.
What's the password for the guest?
It changes every day. It's posted downstairs.
I've got it. I've got it. It's 475821. And then next is the bylaws, rules, and conflict of interest. And at the select board meeting, I did remind them to look at 5B on the conflict of interest. And they said they were going to look in on that, but I have no idea what's happened because they haven't had another meeting. Do you have any update?
It is not on our agenda for this week's meeting, but we are looking at it.
Okay. And then the next part is the bylaws and rules. And I can bring those up, especially since, let's see, Monique is here in case I get lost. And that's not it. What did I do wrong?
If you find it, I would appreciate it.
And did everyone have a chance to review it again?
I do.
Okay. So I didn't touch it from last time. Now what do I do?
Zoom,
Zoom,
the little camera.
this one? Oh, that one. That's something else.
I'll just click on that one. Yeah. And then share. Start or share screen.
Trouble with me. Okay.
And then you can just do that one.
Oh, I don't want to select multiple windows. I just want to select that one.
Yep. And then share.
It's not doing it. Did it share?
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully the people at home can see this or wherever you are. And Monique, I can't bring this down. I can't make it scroll. Am I sharing?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. It went too fast. I don't see where the scroll bar is. Be interesting. I don't want to go up. Oh, it won't go up. I don't understand why it won't go up. There it is. Okay. All right. So the first part is just going over the duties for the planning commission. Preparing the town plan, zoning, subdivision, flood hazard bylaws, administering the bylaws, except if there's another municipal panel, like the zoning board of adjustment, or if there was a development review board. Make studies and recommendations on land development, urban renewal, transportation, economic and social development, urban beautification. I need a new computer. Historic and scenic preservation and conservation, development and protection of natural resources. Review and comment on capital budget prior to select board approval. We've never done that. Hold public meetings for discussion of any of the above recommendations and procedures and other powers granted to the commission according to a statute. So I think that's pretty much boilerplate for the planning commission. Does anyone have any concerns or additions, comments? And then membership can consist of between 3 and 9 voting members as determined by the select board. And I thought that was good to leave in there. That gives you flexibility. You don't have to change it. It just leaves it up to the select board. Members shall be appointed for 4-year terms by the select board, each term to start on March 31st, except for those filling an existing term. And in the last, this is something new, in the last year of a member's term, each member shall notify the chair and the select board by March 1st, whether the member wishes to be considered for another term. And I think that would be really helpful because I know that at one point, Bob Benjamin got reappointed and I never knew that. And he didn't want to be on the planning commission, but he was on it before. And so he just appointed him again. And so I think this would be a good idea. At its first meeting after March 31st, the commission shall elect a chair, vice chair, and clerk. The clerk may or may not be a member of the commission. The chair shall normally preside at all meetings, the vice chair presiding at the chair's absence. And when both these officers must be absent, someone else is selected. We haven't been doing that. if the chair, vice chair, or clerk resigns their office before the end of the term, the commission shall elect a replacement. Each year from one town meeting date to the next, each voting member of the commission is required to attend at least 60% of the scheduled meetings. That's something new. Generally, in recent years, people have attended, but at some point you didn't attend a lot of meetings. And there was a lot of pressure to have you removed. So,
Good thing I didn't cave, eh?
yeah. I actually stood up for you, Ron. I know you don't believe me, but I did. But I think that's important because it's obviously, it's a big problem when you have somebody who doesn't attend. I attended a fairly planning commission to see, because I was curious how they did things. They also have a Zoom problem, and they all wear masks, which makes it impossible to tell who's talking on top of it all. But they have attendance problems. And so, I mean, that just grinds everything to a halt if you don't have enough people coming to a meeting. Duties of the chair: the chairperson shall call the meeting, maintain order, decide all questions of order or procedure, administer oaths, compel the attendance of witnesses. The chairperson's signature shall be the official signature, and that means that you don't need to have everybody sign documents. And that's explaining, and I don't know if it's in enough detail about how I was able to ask you to be quiet, or Bob Wing to be quiet, because that's what the chair does. That's what you've had to do, right, Bob? And really,
Section 3, the last line, the last sentence of that one versus the last sentence in section 6.
you echo even when I'm here live. Section 3. You could come up here. The chair or the vice chair of the commission shall sign all decisions made by the commission.
Yeah.
And
Then you go down to chair. And you see all signatures would be the chair.
oh, so it shouldn't have the vice chair.
Or you've got to do.
Okay.
consistency.
See, that's where you're so valuable. Okay, that's a good point. So I think it should be chair or vice chair. I think that's the best. Okay. All right, so where was it? Under section 3, and then I was farther down.
Could I point out one other little thing?
Yes,
If
that's
I
why.
remember correctly, it says that the chair shall administer the oaths, and I have no problem with that.
I
But
do.
if you're going to delegate, if the chair is going to delegate
Yes.
to someone else, it should be, the chair shall ensure that the witnesses are under oath.
Okay, well, what section was that? I
I
did,
don't, duties of chair, whatever things.
I'm gonna have to, I'm having too much challenge here. Okay, the oath, yes. Delegate. And then
Well,
chair,
if you just say the chair shall ensure that
ensure,
all witness testimony is given under oath, then as long as it happens somehow, you're covered.
okay, chair or vice chair. Has signing authority. Okay. I just can't control this very well. Duties of the vice chair, those, did I already do that? Shall assume the duties and powers of the chairperson in their absence. Whoops. Duties of the clerk shall conduct all official correspondence subject to the rules and the direction of the board, shall issue proper forms, compile all information, maps, et cetera, et cetera. So keep the minutes of all board actions, showing the vote of each member upon every question, or if absent, disqualified, or failing to vote. Shall indicate in the minutes the names and addresses. Well, we don't do addresses. I should take that out. Clerk. Is that okay to remove the thing about addresses?
Totally okay with me.
A summary of the facts on which the decision is based and decision rendered, shall prepare reports and perform other duties as directed by the chairperson, and shall keep records of an examination and other official actions. Okay. Don't go fast. Okay. The clerk shall provide each new member, and I think this is important, and we haven't done it, and it would have been helpful to me. They'll provide each new member with copies of the planning commission bylaws, the town of Bradford conflict of interest policy, the zoning subdivision flood hazard bylaws, the current town plan, Title 24, Chapter 117, which is the state statutes that apply. Copies of meeting minutes for the previous 6 months and any other pertinent information.
At which point the new member will run away yelling and screaming.
But wouldn't you
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
that?
yeah, it's overdue.
I mean,
What a big pile of documents.
well, you'll get them online.
Yeah,
No hard copies here.
I get that still.
Yes. Let's see. Each year at the first meeting. Each year at the first meeting to the select board members for vacancies. Each year at the first meeting of town meeting day, the clerk shall read the planning commission bylaws to the members. The requirement may be waived by a majority vote. The chair shall recommend to the select board members for vacancies on the commission to subcommittees as well as to any other committee in response to requests for representation from the select board. If requested by a commission member, these appointments shall be confirmed by a majority vote of members present. And I don't know if that, so we would, if requested by a commission member, these appointments shall be confirmed by a majority vote of members present.
I'm sorry.
I think we should read that again. The chair shall recommend to the select board members for vacancies on the commission.
Shall or may?
Shall recommend to subcommittee, wait, the whole sentence, to subcommittees as well as to any other committee in response to a request for representatives from the select board. So yes, the chair shall recommend to the select board members for vacancies on the commission and to subcommittees, as well as to any other committee in response to a request for representation from the select board. So that if the select board asks us to recommend somebody for another committee, we would do so. But we shall recommend to the select board members for vacancies on the commission and to any subcommittees under the planning commission. And if requested by a commission member, these appointments shall be confirmed by a majority vote of members present. I think I'd rather have it be that rather than the chair recommending, that it should be based on a majority of the commission. Shouldn't the commission, don't you
You
think
could
the
say
commission?
the commission shall vote and the chair shall report to the select board.
Pardon? Yes. So I think it would be better if we said the commission shall, a quorum of the commission shall vote on a, I don't know how to say that. The chair shall recommend, so that shall recommend to the select board members based on a quorum of the vote of the commission members.
Just a quorum of the commission shall vote and the chair shall recommend.
There you go.
Blah, blah, blah. So
Okay.
just
Okay, yes, that's, okay, quorum. That's number 11. Okay. All right. Organization of meetings. Vermont law requires the meetings of the planning commission. Where? Be open to the public. It shall be the duty of the clerk to warn regular, special, and emergency meetings in compliance with the Vermont open meeting law. That's attached, the whole statute, chapter, whatever it was, 117 is attached to the document. A special meeting of the commission may be called at any time, oh God, by the chair or by a majority of the voting members, and it shall be the duty of the clerk to warn the meeting in compliance with the open meeting law. The clerk shall likewise furnish each voting member with the agenda for the next meeting, together with minutes of the last meeting and any pertinent documents due for discussion at least 24 hours before the meeting. I flunked that this week. The clerk shall post draft and approved minutes of each meeting of the commission on the public bulletin board. And no one does that. We never post minutes. No one ever posts the minutes. We post the agenda. We never post minutes. Do you want to be posting minutes? I don't think we need to, we should on the town website, but do you want to post?
I was gonna say, does anybody look at bulletin boards anymore? I mean, an awful, okay, some people do, there we go. So,
But no commission posts the minutes anywhere.
I don't see a need to post the minutes. I think the minutes need to be available. if
Right.
Everybody wants to see them.
And
But-
they're posted to the website. People do that.
Right, that's a given.
Well,
I can't see printing out, I can't see wasting the paper and tacking copies of the minutes to the bulletin boards, but
Doesn't a copy have to be in the vault?
it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yep, and I failed that.
Even if it's only a draft copy.
Yes. But that's not what it's saying. I think it should be changed, so, because we don't want,
you can say.
Where-
The minutes shall be posted to the website and shall be available to any member of the public who requests a copy.
and in the vault. But not, we don't want to be posting. We still, it's state law, you have to post in 3 places.
I know, and it's also state law, when a state agency is revising its regulations, they have to publish notices in newspapers.
And they do.
They have to, they're required by law, but
Yep.
I can tell you, 99% of the comments that I get when we're revising our rules are over email.
Okay, so. Okay, so. Let me go back because my thing keeps. And I just want to point out that you suggested doing this.
Hmm,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay. So. Procedural rules may be adopted by a vote of the majority of members present voting for the purpose of establishing a quorum for approving motions or quasi judicial decisions. Abstentions shall be counted with a majority vote of at least 3 members. If the vote is a tie, abstentions shall be counted as a vote against the motion. And so that's very important in that if there's a quorum, and I want to make sure this says that if a quorum has to be at a hearing, and then when you vote, you have to, it has to be, so that 3 people have to attend a hearing, and then 3 people have to vote in favor of approving it, or it's denied.
Right. I think though, rather than saying that an abstention shall be considered to be a no vote, we should just say a tie, the motion does not carry, or something is not approved if there's a tie. If people abstain, they may abstain for a reason, and abstention is different from recusal, but people may have a good reason for abstaining. And if their abstention then by default becomes equivalent to a no vote,
Okay,
that could
Does
put
that
them
make-
in an awkward
that makes sense?
situation.
okay.
So unlike in baseball where a tie goes to the winner. In this case, a tie, you lose.
You
You're out.
lose,
Yep.
right? The following rule shall apply, regularly apply at all meetings. Motion shall not be require a second before discussion. A call for the question is not debatable, but requires majority approval for the question to be voted on immediately. I don't know about that.
It means that when somebody
You can
says,
still
we've been
table."
debating this long enough, I move that we cease debate and vote on the issue. We can't debate that motion. We have to vote whether or not to cease debate.
Okay,
It doesn't mean we have to stop. It means we have to decide. We have to vote whether or not to stop.
okay. And a motion to table a matter does not require a second and must be voted without discussion. A motion to take a matter from the table does not need a second and may not be discussed.
But we said earlier on, no motion needs a second.
Right,
So it's a given that
okay,
all motions do not need to be seconded. Anybody who makes a motion, that motion is going to be voted upon.
okay. And neither a motion to table, whoops, neither a motion to table or to take from the table may be repeated until after other actions have taken place. We don't get that complicated. Yes,
Just check your page numbers. It's a picky one, which had about 5 pages.
okay.
Look how it is even more.
Which page 6?
Okay, a motion, oh my God, of order is privileged and may be discussed before the presiding officer makes a final decision. When a motion has been acted upon, a motion to reconsider it is out of order until other business has been transacted. Proposal to amend these bylaws must be included in the minutes and may not be voted on until the next regular meeting. For it to pass requires a 2/3 majority of the voting membership. And so we have 5, so that would require 4. Do we want to do that, or do we want to just keep it simple?
I think it should be just a simple majority.
Okay. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, if others disagree, go ahead, speak up.
Right. I'm just going to do a summary motion at the end of all these suggestions, as long as you don't. Because it's just simpler. At the discretion of the presiding officer, or at the request of any voting member at any meeting of the commission, the proceedings shall be conducted according to the current editions of Robert Rules of Order. However, by agreement of the voting members present, the meeting may be conducted somewhat less formally if and when this seems desirable, which is generally what we do. Right. Records, all minutes and records of examinations and other official actions shall be filed promptly with the town clerk as a public record. The clerk shall maintain a file of documents, physical evidence, etc. We can't control what she does. All records of the board shall be public except if exempted by statute. Deliberative session shall be closed to the public unless the board votes to conduct deliberative session with the public in attendance. Continuation of hearings, the board may continue a meeting or hearing if all applications or appeals cannot be disposed of on the day set. No further public notice shall be necessary, and that's in the statutes. Any person contemplating submitting an application in accordance with the Bradford regulations shall meet with Bradford zoning official prior to submitting an application to receive guidance regarding the application and review process and the standards in effect. All applicants seeking review or a permit are encouraged to notify budding landowners. All applicants are encouraged to submit plans to the Bradford Fire Department, Bradford Water and Sewer, and Conservation Commission for comments prior to submitting an application to the zoning. Oh, did I go? Where did I'm up to 14 and I didn't move my finger at all. My computer just, it doesn't, I can't get it to move again. Whoops. Oh, but that. And then there, and most of the rest of this is basically statute for about interested persons, limited public comment and questions by persons not qualified as interested persons. The chairperson shall cause the hearings to be recorded. The chairperson may conduct all or part of the hearing by telephone, television, or other electronic means. Transcriptions of the proceedings shall be made upon request. All evidence of parties and witnesses may be made under oath or affirmation. Irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious evidence shall be excluded, et cetera. Ex parte communication, this probably is, I should read. Board members shall not communicate directly or indirectly with any party, party's representative, party's counsel, or any person interested in the outcome of the application or appeal, or any issue in the application or appeal while it is pending, without notice and opportunity for all parties to participate. Any board member who receives an ex parte communication on any issue relating to the proceeding shall place on the record all written communication received, all written responses to those communications, and a memorandum stating the substance of all oral communications received, all responses made, and the identity of each person making the ex parte communication. Reconsideration and application for rehearing or reconsideration may be made in the same manner as provided for the original application. The board may reject any application without hearing and render a decision thereon, which shall include findings of fact within 10 days of the date of filing of the application or notice of appeal. If the board considers the issues raised by the application or appeal have been decided in an earlier case and there have been no substantial changes in the evidence, fact, or circumstances. The rest of it is, I believe, is the law, is the statutes. So it's not something we can comment on. So any other concerns, any concerns?
Bob, I see.
Bob?
Assigning of hearings, number 2, is 60 days a little long? That carries the whole process up to 105 days.
What one was that?
I think it's page 6. It's under hearings and rehearings. Assigning for hearing.
Hearings and rehearings, number 6. Let me see if I can.
Item 2.
Item 2. Applications or appeals should be assigned for hearing in the order in which they are received. Initial hearings shall be scheduled within 60 days. We don't have any date in our bylaws.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it takes the whole process out to 105 days.
Well, it says within 60 days, so it can't be more than that.
We actually don't have, we currently have no, we can wait forever. There's no limit. We don't do that, but you're suggesting sooner? It has,
I don't know. It seems like it.
We need what, at least 2 or 3 weeks to do all the appropriate, put the announcements in all the appropriate papers and whatnot. Seeing that, so let's say that'll burn up 21 days.
at least.
It's 45.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was just thinking 45 sounds.
Well, sometimes, like I've gotten an application from Bob and I have to talk to you about it. So I've been warned it because I want to talk to you about it before I do that. So that will probably be, it won't be for the next meeting, it'll be for the second meeting and first meeting in October.
That's amazing.
Which is unusually long. Well, no, the decisions are usually, I usually try to 2 weeks. Right, well, the decision, that's not part of the 60 days.
No,
I-
it isn't. It's bad, no.
I think,
But anyhow,
You want to say something, the hearing shall be scheduled as soon as practical, but in no case more than 60 days after receipt of the application? Something that expresses an intent that we won't drag it out? Yeah,
you can always come back. They're just, I thought 60 a long way up. That's too long.
right. Well,
That's all.
I think we want to put the word in completed
Hmm.
applications, because we've had situations where they're missing a document, and so we have to wait, like the Legendary Auto. We had to wait for, I think, the driveway permit.
And, you know, it occurs to me, it is conceivable, if somebody drops off an application in, let's say, the first or second week of November, and you've got Thanksgiving coming up, and then you got Christmas and New Year's, it's conceivable that you might want to push the hearing back to the first meeting in January, just to make sure you've got a full quorum, because people may be traveling over the holidays. So that gets close to your 60 days.
Right.
I just wrote it, that's all.
I think it's, we could put it, the intention is to hold hearings promptly. Because I think we do in general, try to do that.
I think we do.
So do you want, is that enough? Do you want to make it shorter than 60 or? What do you think?
10 cents sounds good. Is the suggestion about trying to do this, you know,
Okay,
quick as possible, but no more than 60 days.
okay, all right. So in a previous meeting, it was suggested by Peep that we separate out rules of procedure from bylaws. Do we want to do that?
The rules of procedure are the way we operate ourselves. The bylaws are how other people, you know, the rules that we enforce. So
Yeah,
That-
I'm gonna
that
need to
does-
know how to do that. So what, exactly which,
Well, that basically separating itself out, is that these are the rules of procedure.
isn't that what we're working on right now? These are all discuss how we behave and conduct ourselves, as opposed to here's what we expect an applicant for a zoning permit to do.
well, it's not, it's our bylaws, right? Because it's saying, you know, we have between 3 and 9 members. That's a
Oh,
bylaw.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
And what our roles are, and then and we have to notify the select board if our term is up, if we want to be, that's a bylaw, I think.
Do other
I
commissions
see
have
what you're saying.
both? Because I've only known ones that have one or the other.
Well, like what we've just gone over, don't we want all that
No,
information?
that's fine. Do we
Yeah,
have to
no, I
call
see-
them
I see what
specific
you're saying.
things in one document?
I don't know, that was your, why don't you elaborate?
I just feel that they're two different documents, as Ted says. One is how you operate and one is how you expect others to operate. And to me, they're two different documents, but you're welcome to do whatever you want.
So
We
when,
call this-
okay, so I think when you said bylaws, you're talking about the zoning bylaws or the subdivision bylaws as opposed to our internal rules of procedure. Is that,
Yes.
yes, okay,
Yes.
so, yeah, so I was,
So should we just call this rules of
I
procedure?
think so, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I can change the title, that's really easy.
There we go.
Wow.
No
Okay.
need to bifurcate the document.
Okay, all right, so I'll make those changes, and then if somebody does a motion to approve the rules of procedure, subject to the changes we've discussed.
So
Make
moved.
the motion.
And all those in favor? And then I'll send it around for you all.
Mhm.
I'll send it on to the select board then, hopefully for their, not this meeting coming up, but the following meeting for them to
We should be
review.
able to do it our first meeting in October.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And it's 8:20, and so I think we should adjourn. Is everyone in favor of that? Okay, and then our next meeting is September 21st.
You want to approve your minutes?
The minutes, they're really long.
For 30 seconds to approve.
Okay, have you all seen the minutes? Have you seen the minutes?
I didn't.
Oh
I
dear,
don't know when you sent them out, but I didn't get them when I left at 4:40.
I sent them out before then.
Before then?
I might not have, I don't know, because they were,
They were long enough that I skimmed them very, very quickly, so I didn't see anything that raised any red
I'll
flags.
I need
But I
help.
admit.
But it's very long, it was very long
because.
because there was a lot of stuff going on with different people talking. So I can make a motion, someone make a motion to approve the minutes, but I don't know if you're comfortable with that.
You want to
That's-
set-
That's okay. I don't have to.
You want to set-
I probably got them something down there.
Okay, great. No,
I can, let me see if
I
I,
looked before I left at 4:45.
Oh, I don't-
4:52. I guess you know
Stop.
that's not what it-
stop
unless I missed
share,
it for some reason.
stop share. Let me just pull up the
But
minutes.
if everybody else looked at them, I don't have to worry about it. It's majority rules.
Okay, it's opening. It's opening. It's not shared. I'm not sharing it. I'm sorry, people online, but he's printing it off. It is popping up. It's long, they're long, because there was a lot of stuff that occurred. There they are.
Thank you, Sarah.
you're welcome.
So we can move the motion while he
You can.
skims it. Because it's- I went over all the different things that were going on. It's on this
I'll
paper.
approve this much.
So it wants to make a motion for the minutes, Dan?
No, I haven't read them, so I'm asking. I mean,
Monique,
okay.
so all those in favor of the minutes?
All right,
Motion carries without Dan.
I approve.
Okay, so now we can. Other business, is there anyone who has any other business before we adjourn? No, okay. And so the next meeting is September 21st. And then the next meeting after that, I think, is October 5th. I hopefully won't be here for October 5th, though it looks like I might very well be here.
October 5th is also Dottie's and my anniversary, and I almost certainly will not be here.
If you do, you're in.
If I do, I may be sleeping.
Maybe your last anniversary.
Well, I hope we can get a wild card.
Yeah, well,
So we could decide if we want to cancel it, or you all want to proceed.
why don't we wait until at least our second meeting in September
Okay.
and see where things stand.
Okay,
I know that my anniversary date will not change, but the baseball playoffs might be a third.
yeah, it's looking bleak, so. All right, thank you. And I'm closing the meeting and closing my computer.
Oh, you can circle. Like to see. Yeah. Yeah.
see, nice to see you. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really impressive to see that. Well, I'm sorry, that's not underneath it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I just, it says it's short-term rental. And it's a really big house. So are they renting, the whole house up?
They're renting,
Right,
which is
the whole house.
according to the bylaws.
Right.
It's,
Well, then, the burden allows something for the house.
I.
Well, that's what I,
This is weird. Short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts. This is a case. Landlord will not, the homeowner will not be present.
okay, I just want to, it's different than in Washington.
Yeah.
She's doing that little shop now.
Yeah, local.
Right, so she mentioned. So she go for it. She's fine with it. Hopefully, the house is seeing you. No, it was a new activity. And I was waiting for the call.
Anyhow,
It should have been, that's a call, which I'm not worried, but, to be there, I would have thought, I was in charge.
but anyhow.
So. Don't
How
ask
do
me.
you want to?
Yeah, if the whole house is not having multiple,
No, what she, what they want, I
can
think
they do it already that way?
she did write it out, it was very clear,
Yeah.
you gotta write it.
I mean,
Oh, yes, you did.
I just got the. That's all I did get that, the number of questions. Please do it. I mean, I don't know if it's like that short.
No, it's too late.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
I'm
but-
having trouble.
Short-term rental application, 2133. You write down.
You know. So if there's more stuff in there.
Yeah, the whole. Oh, 21. If I go to a select board meeting, and I go to the district,
You're talking about zoning.
right,
Right, but we're talking about zoning. We're talking about zoning. We're talking about overseas, it's structured, it's overseas. And then I was going to approve it. And I hope that maybe what I was saying. I feel like it's really careful.
I said, well, it doesn't matter. The teacher who is next to right now. They can thank you. They go to the Bradford. And they pick all these points.
Okay,
The only question is not. How it says in the. They don't listen to me. There's always.
it's a rental. Just when it's a rental, it's not. It's
I
not,
don't think
if you
it's-
look at bottom of, I
I
know.
was gonna call it, I was gonna call it.
I noticed in the video, that the rental, the bottom of the, rental, I have to have multi-factors.
Yeah,
It's like
but,
a
well,
multi-family.
yeah, but you think you're gonna have,
Is there-
Here's the-
regulations are
here's the
law.
problem, you got multiple. People think, oh, you got to have that. Yes. For building, yes, they have to be. Part of it, not only that. In the customer code.
Rental, even if it's, a single family home, fall to the.
No, I will call, yeah. This is what we do. I will do it.
I think that if you should not, then I would be something.
I can't.
I think it's there.
Oh.
Oh, when I go home, I'll look at my phone. Because I think I looked at my phone. And I all have the. What I think he's saying, here we go, quicker, because that will really be.
Well, being the first one we're going to do, I wanted to, I wanted her. That way.
He's gonna be out of state. That's fine, that's fine, I don't have any trouble with that. Basically,
The logic, oh, you're wonderful.
it's for the whole commission to figure out.
Yeah, but, if they sit through your talk. Oh, okay. No.
Questions were. Well, I'm still looking. Why we were talking about maybe doing this in person.
Okay, I have that.
Not because you don't have to leave.
No, no, you can talk about it. But this is, I think, it's conversation on board and it's on. I would never. But there are, yeah, something to do.
Well, if, I mean, if you were talking here, I could do it so well. And when you talking about me, to the front, it's, yeah. What happens to these people?
It's supposed to be. So if we get back to in-person meetings, that's kind of.
Oh, okay. You tell me if it's okay.
I'm completely divided.
You working on? Okay. You working on Thursday? All right, I'll go back home and look it up. Have you ever done Thursday? And it's pretty good. Okay. It's a nonprofit.
It's a business.
Nonprofit.
Well,
Somebody was thinking from doing missions or research or library.
Yeah, I get. Well, she doesn't want to do it. If you want to have a wedding in those places, or if you want to be business, it's not.
There's a pending application.
No, it's not.
What happened to this?
Really, from the roof of the.
She never submitted anything.
Yes, she did.
We never used it. There's no people free. So,
I thought it was before the time.
you can't call it anything. Not as a business. If it's not a business, it's not what it's considered. I couldn't do that. All of it, because I could, because I want property with a bunch of property. But it's a great, almost, except for there's a change of conservation in the, so I'm close. So I felt that I should, I choose to comply with, I'm getting it. No, it's a good, he went back and asked for more information. And she never provided.
She came in, met with me,
To do with
we sit here,
really for.
I won't hold it.
I don't think I did it.
It was actually, oh,
I got the feeling that when you do it,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Once I get to
So if I submit an application to you, and then you do something that's complying with the field. And do it, check, and I have to check.
you give me the paperwork and the stuff, and I get out there. I usually just start the applicant, you take this, bring it back.
And you know, when you want to do that, there's benefits. And I did that, and I'm not going to not take that, I'm still not going to do it. It's actually,
I'm going to process,
when you're in.
I'm going to process their permit, and I cannot process until you say, that, the police, you know what I'm saying, that's the first step, I'm saying.
There's no, because I think officers for the good report.
This is where, in the competition, the youth go with. This is where, and I didn't know.
They didn't tell me that, they just said they didn't want it. Until they got to,
Yeah, and I did them.
we didn't like that, and then
So when it does go through, they always have it. I give them and I took out the David and I took out first. All three items are good. Which one are you for?
Probably will be actually.
I don't know how to do it. But I didn't do it. It's not, it's a done deal, I'll take it back. Because I don't feel like a work on it. So you take it.
I'm not gonna argue.
It's something that I can, that's all.
Right, so no, I totally agree. I think that's like, you know,
And I also, and everything in them.
I didn't do that because I,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it, I'm very comfortable.
no, I didn't feel comfortable.
It's just what I, it's just what I got. This permit is limited.
Not about the whole,
It should be, like, I can go here and.
you know, I was the assistant, except for 3 years. You know, I wish I would have thought of that I did, you know, 2. So you thought that she was gonna take health care, like, sleeping, she was, sleeping, I'm saying, if she does it as a business. Doesn't it fall under that definition, where you can? Then work it. But that's, okay, so what is it? Events are we willing to talk?
Rent your house. And you go buy it. And I, went in there. And Monday morning, not working.
That's all she was thinking.
She was she's not living here. She's living
So she's operating,
oh, it's not living here.
she's not a.
Over here, is a piece of skin, this is the screen, is a place to stand document. I will stand as document here. So that anybody in the future, want to go on. And I get all the time, I look at it, and I notice that I laugh at it, all that. Oh, right, I don't know, it's possible. I'm gonna. I can never ask you. Yeah, yeah, I got that over there. People in the computer. It's so.
Well, I think I do want to do the job. It's just what it is. Well, I think it's you. Because I'm an officer, so it's so long, I'm not
Yeah.
When I got the meeting,
So that case, for them.
and that was the way to put it into the website, so people could see the antenna. I'll send you the.
I'm not.
So I'll vote for you, if I know you don't agree with it.
You don't have to.
Well, but I might be correct, I might be correct. Okay, so I just want to think of it. Okay. So much, and then I do a Google search. You will
This is the.
right, but that would be with right now, it's yeah, and I
Yeah.
I found
that because I believe it should be involved. Yeah. Oh, stop it.
So here's the thing that I think. You have a very different opinion on, so. I think that's part of the thing, that you have very different.
Well, spit out what you gotta say, stop choking on it.
It's not an opinion. You can use it.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not an opinion, no different. That when if you have a use in the class, they don't quite a long time ago, you had, you were, let's just use the Johnson. He was operating the gas station in Newtown. And it's just get about the state regulations. So he decided to get out of the gas station, and to point out, and this, and he starts using it with something completely different. Then someone comes in and wants to the gas station. What this is not really to some positions for. Just because it was permitted in the past. And I agree with this, this is correct. Just because you had a gas station in the past does not mean you can have a gas station in the. If you get up and put in, let's say you put in, I don't know what you mean, right, you just started, you just started thinking. You put it as a parking lot.
Yeah.
And then somebody, then you. 5 years from now. He decides to do the size of the gas station. It's not committed. It is very important to keep on doing this work. And it changes and it's state of bakery, often bakery. You don't allow, you wouldn't allow somebody to put in a bakery, now. Because it's investing, it's not easy. It's primarily not easy. And it's what you do not want to think about this meeting. You know,
And you probably grew up in the area. There was a Delta business in the. Ignorant, okay, and they, yeah, or somebody at the church went by, they cut them, yeah, in the bakery. They were side by, yeah, they were side by side, they were, some of them stood walk. They were more than, they. That's what they were abusive, that's what they did.
Let's take the two that I did not. The one,
Yeah.
person, and let's, so, arguments of agree that is manufacturing. We may not agree with that, but let's just say it's manufacturing. So, if we want to think that, then we can, the next place and,
School superintendent.
well, so we don't manufacturing, once they move out. And you know, better than the number of units than manufacturing. That, just the low kind of.
It's like the girl. One of those. She is running, most of her income comes from the restaurant and not the coffee roast. Yeah, but you are.
Trying to, because I don't know, we have no idea, and it's primarily, we're primarily roasting coffee and then selling it. Also, distribution.
Yeah.
That's not what is okay. That is my opinion, because that's the way I view it. Let's look at the wrong thing. That's, the overview, that is, that's manufacturing operation. Maybe you do that. It's the manufacturing.
You give it manufacturing.
So let's just go along with that.
Okay.
Assume that it is. So, for those things that, then other things, you know, manufacturing involved. No one is committed to have manufacturing in lower plains. Right? It's not committed use. Not long as we have local manufacturing, the industrial and mixed use industry. It's not permitted, and just because back in the day, that manufacturing is not limited to construction manufacturing, otherwise law is not going.
You turn it down, they appeal.
Yeah.
No, they did the right process.
Yeah, I told you, I
They
knew it
appealed
was gonna be-
they appealed it, and they won. And when they won the appeal, I signed first. It's done deal. It does not come back, it does not come back.
You know,
It does not come back.
we'll talk, I'm not, I don't know. It should have, because it was a change of use.
No,
It
no,
was a change of use.
they granted it. They granted,
They can't grant the site change.
they granted the, they granted the relief that the appeal.
That it wasn't permitted, that it was permitted to use, that it was a change in use.
That's what they were granted. They,
The use,
they,
they can't grant the site.
the planning commission is done. Look, if you talk about that,
That's, I want to argue that thing.
okay.
I just want to argue that.
Wow.
I just want to. They do not, but they do not allow for, because you do not look back.
You had every right to deny, that was your problem, and they had every right to refuse.
Okay, but you do not.
I would have probably sent it to the planning commission. I would have sent it home. And like you guys,
So we can't.
I would have sent it
It's for you.
home. Zoning board of trustees.
Why?
and let them off if they want to give them a variance. And if they did, fine, then it might come back to you. But if it was, and you shut them down, all they had to do was this narrow thing.
So what basis would you have for saying on?
Doesn't have to shut them down, just send it on.
So if somebody applies for something in town that's not allowed, like, not building any.
Yes, sure.
Really? I
You have a double
want.
Okay.
Don't think of a state, what would you do? Because you think you do everything again.
Inappropriate in that location. In a mostly healthy. Yeah, we have to do that.
And you're laughing, because it's statute.
Then what do I do?
I would deny it.
And that's not fair, I tell them, no.
That's not definitely, it's not committed.
And
But somebody goes
but
for,
then, when you deny it, they have the right to appeal.
I mean, the building is still definitely limited ability to overturn. The our board of adjustment doesn't follow. You know, so the legal basis for what they do.
You never read that. That's your limitation.
What does that have to do with it?
That's, sorry,
That doesn't have any.
well, you know, the site that Casey Thompson has been out of compliance for more than 15 years
What,
as an industrial site.
what do they do?
It's a fucking unit. It's a $40.
So that it's continuous, it's not doing something.
Yeah, no, it isn't. No, it's
You're very, very manifest law. They process fine.
with the proximate, with the proximate around,
They process fine.
with the proximate around, you get the freedom and back it up. It's a garage, he does not have to. He's using it, and then if the, if the non-compliant now is stopped, and if we do this over here, this does not become administrative. It can't become graded.
You don't think that something like explicitly, well, you know, just giving here,
There's a thing that it is here.
it's a specific line.
It's something,
It says that it is a specific line, because I also, I went to Paul, well, I'm gonna approve this, right? Because
yeah,
you can file it, you can know, look at this, there's a line specific, you cannot do fuel distribution in your opinion.
I'm saying this typically, that is the problem. It's always been, it has always been industrial. Industrial is permitted, fuel distribution is permitted in industrial work.
But this is, go back and find that. But you could go back to the yarn manufacturing and so one of the anyway, not the industrial, but the conformity, whatever, and then you want to go back to something that's not conformity. No, specific one, email or any description. And then you see.
No.
And then, you shouldn't be able to.
Well, I have no. We don't go to the government to do it.
It should, there's another issue about it, should your community, then it becomes a community. You just say, "We're going it's supposed to go back. If you submit it and send it back.
They're going to the board. No, they're going to the your decision to turn it back. No, you turned it back, sure. You didn't say inappropriate use, you just turned it back. So they.
So I would say.
I don't. It's all that crap right there. You know the crap, if you've seen it.
I know the chart, but I also know that when you make the problem, it was.
That was.
It's a problem and you appeal to.
Because it's started. Way back. What you can do is. Yeah. You never heard it all. You didn't know. No, it's not going on my own. You got to give the opinion for that. That would be, if both parties agree, it's not a problem.
You should have gone to the ZBA. You think that story about it.
No, I didn't. But we got, and the property line, they have no problem. Well, but it is more substantially done.
They have it.
They have-
Maybe this one. They came back to me, because they never do anything.
They put the foundation.
That's what they said, they looked
They
at it.
did, not, what they said, that. They put the foundation. When I was from the meeting, they put the foundation, which ties it down, the building is done. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
You have a permit.
No, they have a permit. They got a permit.
The permit is-
You're saying they didn't get a permit for the building. I'm saying
No, but
that,
that's fine.
they did.
You surely, you look at the phone. And she was only going to the agency.
Yeah.
That's the first of the. It's like parking. I'm on a commission.
It's water over the building. If you want to spend it, you can afford it. That's a good time.
I'm not gonna.
If you want that, then something that you want to do, whatever it is, take it there.
I'm trying to talk with you about. I don't want to go to the sales for you. I don't want to.
It's true. Oh,
Well, I don't want to. It's not, I'd rather have it work.
you want me to, you, rather than you.
No,
That's what we're looking for. And I'm
I'm
gonna,
trying to explain that.
your thought, your thinking.
What planning commission is thinking,
Your thinking.
is the planning commission is thinking, the zoning. And why would it? Whenever I have questions about different things that I do, I go to the LCP.
Mhm.
And it's something that I do, so I ask, I present what I see, so I can figure out the best. But then looking at things, so I do that. So I can, so
Good thought. You asked about. But, yeah, essentially, last week. Drop the food or other things, but it's, so the building has to be moved. I did, no, well, I think the key is, one of the,
well, because we, I was thinking, because when we went there, there's kind of a road, if you know.
yeah. What to do? Because I want to do it right. Just thinking, we just can't come. Now, we are fine. No, get the building out and get it. And I think that's the way it should be. Get it.
Well, I think it's lucky that you have the money. I just want to know what's the
It's doing so.
What?
We probably are talking.
No, because that's not.
That's not-
You know, you can use it, maybe.
Quite a bit of this, and that's a good one.
No, I'm just. hoping for that.
I don't, oh, it's take it easy.
No, you're not allowed on the property.
Well, yeah. That we have. So what we think is what we really want to do.
So, on the, not just watching, I haven't thought about that. But perhaps the setbacks, really, not the best. Because
You've
it's actually.
heard me say that more than once.
No, because it's between, what was it, 30
Or 40
and 40 is the law.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if you could be 40. Get on that property. I think 40 is doing well.
Right, because I know the state is almost awful. So I'm thinking that the minimum, the closest they should do is 60 feet.
Then it should be further.
Or more.
Yeah, but so they,
And you told me.
it said 60 feet, but when you look at the bylaw, the bylaw is a minimum of 40, maximum 60. That, okay, if you come in here and want to. And you tell me, I'm gonna put that house 150 feet in the road. So, you get, you start thinking about it, it's 60 feet. How much did you get, right? You find out if you move 20 feet forward, that then you have, you're losing them.
No, because it's not how the issue is, and it's specifically stated in the bylaw, in the middle, it's not having a site plan in the middle of the bylaw. Because if there's a minor change, which you can do like a minor change, that the administrator has at his discretion to approve it, but he needs to inform the government. And that's because it's crazy, because it's really, it's more. Testimony is clear. You testify 62. I'm saying that you, it specifically says, in the, that minor changes like that, you have a discussion to approve. But, you need to inform the government. Like, you need that. You think about it. It says that it's a change of location, how does it change the location of a setback, please do it. But it wasn't approved for that. Yes.
If you had put this building will be 60 feet, or you did not. It's
No, it's
not in
stated,
the decision.
it's stated in the,
testimony.
document finding of fact.
But it's not.
It doesn't have to be, it's in finding of fact, and that's the.
I'm not.
It's not a
I'm
condition.
sorry. You couldn't.
Is there a reason why we want to make it about?
I guess he's a meeting, the guy has met. He's met the requirement. The maximum is. And what report does an abutter get? But no report. And then what?
You know, I mean, it's not really said in the first. He warned about how he couldn't do it that way.
I am not why he is not where we have to go to make it form fire code. Sometimes
You were, the above. And you went to the site hearing, and you said 60 feet, and you assumed it was 60 feet, and now it's something different, and you wouldn't have liked that.
I don't know why we want to use it.
Well, the person, one of the people that I know, says about what the plan is going to do. Yeah, and road side. You told me if you were, because you do not want parking in front of the building, because it looks like it's different. So the long way, and you said the third entrance to be on the side of the street. The park on the road side, on the street side.
And not people, even if you took that back to 60 feet, you wouldn't have walkways.
You do have that, no, if you had estimated the front of the building, facing the road, and not parking in front of the building, you have to.
Or you take turn the building 90 degrees.
Yes, you not have parking over, you adding a system on the parking. The back? No. It's at the back of the building.
The back of the building is facing right. The front is facing the top, the back is not.
We won't be able to see it, and we do address that because of the, anything that's changed.
Until you get to the back of the building. We drive by and we can see.
That's the reason we don't do it. No, that was before it came down.
It's about five.
Right, and then I was down there.
Back about the building.
Right, and then it's put there, because,
They want to fight on the front.
well, they put it there because they want people to stay down.
Yeah, I did. You want them to keep the same. Or you want them to put back.
Not too far. Yeah, but this is, before you do it, it's kind of a lot, but the way it's too wide. So,
Talking about. The really was local, over that possible. Yeah.
center of the, now the, what's the, put it on, you never know where it's not on.
That's very comfortable.
Well, some property lines go in the same way as mine, too, but it's in the same way.
But or they go to the middle of the road. It may not be the same.
Right, definitely, right,
So, one should move to the top.
right.
I can, yeah, that's.
I'm open to other than what you can do. But the changes that I laid out are all ones that, right, they've been like, one, you know, you can be seen.
Don't worry about it. Just end it.
Well,
Don't worry about the story. Just end it. And all we do is,
and it's, she's not the only one.
But anyway.
You don't care about what is going on behind the house, you don't, you know what it is, you know, not how it is. But you don't want to know,
So all things to you, do not put take root from the house. You can put it.
if you burn, whatever, if you want to do something else, you don't know what it is. We're not happy with the way it's been done. But the state is not up. The idea behind it is trying to achieve the same goal. That's the way we go. And we haven't do it, and that's like, we don't want to do it, we don't want to. Because it's like, so I'm trying to correct. I know. I know you will. Because nowhere else in the environment is it the same. Now it's second, we're doing very expensive. Might impact me, as long as it impacts everyone. So it's has nothing to do with me. You have no effect, there would be an advantage to me, as a big community, wanted to do something. Well, there was an advantage. Well, there's a way to anyone on the property and then start to compete. But now, everyone, that's not law. That's the advantage to someone who has a property in whatever neighborhood district is largely the action particularly the greater advantage is to businesses because they have profit status and like the smaller ones are the density has a lot of packaging and stuff, that others can Whatever, and if someone has something like me or Ron Hunter or we don't qualify for that, they would have anything to come. And they would, there some other opportunities like, and then the very certification, that would be interesting, if we have to extend the technologies to others. So that with the idea, ultimately, hopefully, it takes care that, that we'll enable, responsible for to one way or the other. Yeah. Well, that's sort of the idea behind. Well, this is, you know, in the top floor and the top condo, you can see all the things. Right, so I mean, so, you know, there are a lot of people, people that are looking to fix up homes here and you know, to help them. There's a lot of, yeah. I have my building, I have people that are working. They're not on, the system, they're working. And, you know, they just wasn't to a couple small towns. And another, one on, two kids. Think about it, like, they're from the old things and, Well, I think, you know, you the workforce, that's the goal, is to copy and see. Developers, about workforce, homes for people that will work for them, because you can't find it. I mean, it's true. Well, also like, my daughter, which, you know, she she's a teacher. And you too, and she, I think this is a very good thing, and she, yeah, she likes it. No, I'm saying, in the house in New York City. She has, she's got an addition to the pension. Yeah. She's already, she'll be resident in a few more years. Oh, it's, yeah. And that's like, I told, you know, the American you know, that's big. And I think that's something to develop something that we know, so that people work here, and then they live for like 5 years, and it's paid fine and everything, and then they're leaving, and they get a company, so it's that, and you know why? Well, when someone at the work meeting, I'm not moving.
Yeah, well, I'm not moving. So we have to understand. You can get my own,
Well, I hope you listen a little.
hope you listen. A little.
And, you know, I wish more people on our using the process, you know, that they not, that you know that they express themselves.
I said nothing. Fine. You're there. Express your opinion. About everything I do. They don't. They don't. No, they don't. That's right. You got two.
Well, I never took the money back there. It's not on the commission. Do all. And why do they use the parts of
They do all personnel in executive session. They do all hourly personnel in executive session. They don't, they just do. I don't know why they do that, but they do.
Why is she doing that for?
He hired, no, but it's not the team. They do it in executive session. No, they do it all in executive session. I think it is.
is there a, should the planning commission be there interviews and?
What are you interviewing?
Well, if we had been, the ability to interview,
You have the ability. You chose not to.
we never chose not to. You couldn't do it on the day that I picked, because nobody could listen. And we never did an opportunity.
Okay, we are a small town, and I've got to. You and I can disagree, but we can have an hour conversation.
Right.
We're not screaming at we have never called each other another name.
Ron has yelled at me and I still can talk to him and
Yeah.
joke with him,
But
but
we have to,
I can't tell or.
I will never, Monique and I will never.
I went back to he was at the airport, so I saw Marcy with Marcy and still playing with him.
Even put it on a list of itself.
But why not answer?
I don't know. That I don't know. Question.
No, I mean,
That I don't know.
he could have answered that.
Well, sometimes I don't know.
But this was important, like, you know,
I don't know.
I think it was.
The other day on,
Have you seen what she sent to me?
I just said no, and that was it. I wasn't talking anymore.
Well, but you sent that as his own administrator, not as
Yeah.
stop the guy in the
Yeah, but I
street.
just said no. Oh, remember when we talked about whether I was going to the site review on Bradford Motel?
Yeah.
You never knew who I was. You just
Where were you there?
was North Carolina.
Oh, well,
I wasn't coming anyhow. But it was a principal thing.
you should have been able to do that. I just was telling you what she said,
Yeah, but
right?
but
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was bracing myself for you to show up.
I was
You were probably mad that you couldn't.
I wasn't saying back to those.
Well,
I was on vacation. Yeah, that was a fun vacation. That was a good time.
well,
We went to the Flight 93 Memorial, and then we drove down through the back roads of West Virginia, and Kentucky, and up over the Pigeon Forge. And
my
down over the,
stepmom is from West Virginia. My stepmom is from West Virginia. She's a southern lady.
yeah,
No, I will. I probably told you, my dad told me, he's asking me something about my house. I love it. My little view that I have. No one made you apply.
yeah.
Who accepted you? Huh? It was,
But I wouldn't say anything.
No, no, not you. You can say whatever you want. You have a, you know, I don't.
I had a pass out.
People in a position of authority, I hold to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And I think, well, they hold power over me. And so,
Only if you like them.
no, they dismissed me, they didn't even talk to me. And they didn't even tell me I was dismissed. I heard that from somebody else. They didn't tell me for a week. You know, the way they did that was mean and petty. And so that, you know, they had issues with what I was doing. They should have talked to me. Talking behind my back. But that's not acceptable. It's just a terrible way to treat somebody.
Oh.
So they need to get good at it.
No, that's where they are. Because some of the people only consider issues for respect. If you don't give it, it's not.
Well,
I can, I yell at you for 15 minutes.
mhm,
It doesn't mean that you don't try to take a road and then drive by you.
right.
It's just that we lose it. No, the ability to disagree